What's important about water? Water is one of the most important substances to life on Earth itself. All plants, animals, and humans must have water to survive. If there was no water on Earth, there would be no life on Earth. Apart from drinking water to survive, people have many other uses for water, such as taking a shower, watering plants, brushing your teeth, washing dishes, and making food or drinks.
In California for the past 4 years, and it was very, very severe. But luckily, because of all the rainwater we've gotten this past year, I think that we're very, very much relieved from the negative effects that it could have had more on our state.
Okay. What are some problems that California residents have?
Well, if you think about it, California is a major cash crop for agriculture. Most of the agriculture is grown in California and exported to the greater parts of the United States. So with less water, our food prices have gone up, especially with vegetables and fruits, and anything that we produce has had a higher price for our residents. And also, I would imagine that people have a larger water bill to pay. So some of us struggle with, making ends meet. So I think that negatively impacts some of our residents.
Okay. How has it negatively affected the environment?
Oh, okay. So, there's people who think that, climate change is a natural source or natural cycle in our planet, which it is. But at the same time, us as humans, I feel we have an abundance of everything, and we take advantage of the fact that you can turn on the faucet, water will come out, and there aren't any effects. It's not affecting me, so why should I even bother to turn it off? Why should I take a shorter shower? Why should I not water my lawn? So we really have to think about our future, what kind of world we're gonna create for ourselves, for our children, our nieces, our families, and really think about, if you look at pictures, there's several large bodies of water in California who have either just completely vanished or are just scary to see how much it's reduced. I love to go camping, and I did notice during these past 4 years when I went, the rivers or wherever I visited was just so small, almost gone. It's scary, as a kid you see like lush bodies of water, rivers, streams, waterfalls, and you go back as an adult and see the impacts yourselves. We're in a city, and you don't see the things happening here because it's a city. We have everything at our hands, but when you go to these wildlife areas, you really see it, and it's sad. I think it's sad. So yeah, it's affected California. Also, because of the lack of rainwater, it's caused a lot of wildfires, and I imagine fishes and our wildlife is also a danger because of the droughts.
Yeah. Okay, so what are some ways Californians can conserve water?
Okay, so you guys brush your teeth, right?
Yeah.
Well, I hope you do. So one of them is just turn off the faucet while you're brushing your teeth. Maybe once in a while you're taking a shower, had a long day, take your bath. Turn off the faucet while you're conditioning your hair or shaving your legs or whatever that might be, So just think of small ways. Like, my family and I were really conservative with our natural resources, so we save our dishwater. So we wash our dishes, we save it, and then we water our plants with that, so then we don't waste more water, because it all just goes down the drain, So might as well use it for our plants and not waste more water on top of dishwater. My dad works in landscaping, so he said that's fine to do that with the dishes. What else can we do? I'm a vegetarian, So one of the reasons was because, animal farms use a lot of water. They waste a lot of water. So I figured, what can I do to help our environment? And that's one of the ways that I do it. So I'm not telling you to be a vegetarian, but maybe once a week enjoy, a Boca burger. There's good. It's not meat, but there are alternatives for once a week. Have a meatless Monday. Maybe consider that we live in an area that is a desert. Did you know that? This is a desert, okay? So maybe you can't have your beautiful green lawn. Maybe one year you shouldn't. Consider having as many plants or green grass and just wait for the rainwaters. Like now, if you go outside, it's beautiful, right? Everyone has their tall green grass, and that's natural. We shouldn't make it unnatural or force something that isn't part of our ecosystem.
Okay, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
What do you know about the drought?
Well, I know it was ongoing for several years and it impacted the whole state. And we are close to coming out, I believe, of the drought.
So what are some problems that California residents have?
Keeping your grass green.
Okay, my name is Anthony Tu. I'm a civil engineer. I work for the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power. I'm a registered engineer in the state of California.
What does your department do?
I work for the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power. So we have two primary goals. One is to distribute electricity to customers within our operating area, and the other is to distribute water to customers within our operating area.
What is your goal in your
Within the company?
Yeah, within the company.
So I work in our water recycling policy group, and one of my primary responsibilities is conducting outreach of this sort, working with students or the public in general, sometimes working with political figures, and kind of reaching out and informing the public about recycled water, about its uses, and how valuable it can be to the city of Los Angeles.
Second question. What are the major problems, as you see it, caused by the water shortage?
Well, water is a commodity. It really, water is, you can think of it as a resource or a commodity. It's something that people need. So the problems with a water shortage are the same as they would be with any other shortage of a resource, and that is that people have certain needs. They want to use a certain amount of water. They want to have gardens or pools, or they want to it maintain sanitation in places like hospitals. So we really do need water, and what happens is we become accustomed to a certain amount of water, and when we have less of it, the people have to make do with less, and we have to prioritize where we're going to put water, or the Department of Water and Power, where I work, we have to figure out ways of supplementing that water supply so that people don't have to deal with such a shortage.
Number 3. What is the process and time involved in recycling water?
The process and time involved in recycling water greatly depends on what the water is going to be used for. So, for example, if you're going to use recycled water for a purpose like irrigation, or if you're going to use it in an industrial purpose like in a cooling tower for a power plant, or if you're going to use it for some other non-potable purpose, largely we can use water that has been treated to the standard that is required for release into the environment, which requires, in most cases, 3 levels of treatment. You have to go through what's called preliminary primary treatment, which is largely a form of settlement where the water is put into a large pool and it becomes still, and dense stuff that's more dense than water sinks to the bottom, stuff that's less dense flows to the top and is able to be removed in that manner. Second step is a biological form of treatment. It's called secondary treatment. And in this process, it's actually broken into 2 phases. One is an anaerobic phase, where basically the waste is mixed and organisms within the waste actually feed on organics, and they clean the water in that way. And these are organisms that are prosper in a non-oxygenated environment. So then there's a second portion of this form of treatment where the water is still mixed, but also we aerate it. We put a lot of air bubbles in it, and this is an aerobic phase, and that's because some organisms benefit from an aerobic environment, and those organisms then feed on any organic material that's still in the waste. After that, it goes through what's called secondary clarification, which is very similar to primary treatment. It goes into a large pool, becomes still. Anything less dense than water floats on the top. Anything denser than water sinks to the bottom, and it's removed at those points. And then it moves to a third phase, which is called tertiary treatment. Tertiary treatment, at this point, the water has very small particles. That is all that remain in it. And in fact, the particles are so small that they wouldn't actually be captured by the filters we use. So we add what's called a plasticizing polymer, which causes the particles to kind of group and glom onto it. And that, through a process like coagulation or flocculation. And once that happens, when it passes through the filter can catch the particles. The water is very clean by this point, and it is safe for. Then there's one more step, and that is the water is chlorinated. So we chlorinate the water, and at that point, once it's been chlorinated, you can use it for non-potable purposes. So we put it in our purple pipe distribution system, which is exclusively for recycled water, and it's only for non-potable purposes, which is non-drinking purposes. And it's distributed throughout the city. Large customers, one of the bigger customers are like public golf courses. Almost, I think 80% of them use recycled water now. It also goes to places like cooling towers and stuff like that, and you can use tertiary water for that. If you're going to now, currently in the state of California, the only form of potable reuse, so this is taking recycled water and using it to augment our drinking water supply or our normal water supply. There's only really one form that is firmly regulated, and that's indirect potable reuse, and that's where you take water that's been treated to a specific level, and you inject it into the ground, and then it can be drawn up later. The regulations require a minimum of tertiary treatment. If you use tertiary treatment, though, you're going to have a high amount of total dissolved solids in it, and you won't necessarily be able to use that much recycled water. So in some cases, they use a higher level of treatment. We refer to this as advanced treatment, and so that would include things like microfiltration. Microfiltration uses a filtrate with an incredibly small pore size that will remove a lot of contaminants, and really this is just a pre-treatment for reverse osmosis. Reverse osmosis is the primary way where they treat ocean water for desalination, and so this has an even smaller pore size, and basically once water goes through reverse osmosis, it's very near distilled water quality. It's very pure at that point. Very few contaminants can make it through a reverse osmosis membrane. And those that do, one of them being, there's a substance called NDMA, which is a really, really small substance that can make it through to some degree. We treat that with ultraviolet light and advanced oxidation using, so we inject the water with hydrogen peroxide and then hit it with UV light, which causes an oxidation process, which eliminates what's left in the water and sterilizes it. At that point, the water is incredibly pure, and you can really put as much in the ground as you want. You're not limited by how it will impact, because it's going to be purer than any groundwater source at that point. So you can put a lot in there. The duration, honestly, I don't know the exact timeline, but keep in mind these are all kind of flow conditions. So as the wastewater is coming in, it's being treated. It's being treated as fast as it comes in, essentially. So it's a flow process. I couldn't give you the exact number of hours it's going to take, but it's going to be in the order of hours, not days. I can tell you that, but I don't know the exact timeline from one molecule of water to make it from one end of the treatment train to the other.